I am the queen of enjoying every moment, never wanting something good to come to an end, and a late checkout is the embodiment of that. I'm your host, Laura Janella. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Late Checkout. I'm so happy to be back on the mic. I haven't recorded in a few weeks, and this is my first 2025 recording. I just got my hair done today. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling brand new. I feel like January gives you that refreshed feeling. I went to my first prenatal Pilates class of the year on Monday. Tomorrow, I have my first therapy session of 2025, and my therapist has actually been on maternity leave for the last 6 months. So it's going to be such an insane catch-up session because the last time I saw her, I wasn't pregnant yet, or I hadn't told people that I was pregnant yet, and I hadn't launched the podcast or my brand or any of that. So it's going to be a very, very long one, but really just excited to kind of get back on the ball, get back to scheduled life, but have it be a little slower and not as chaotic, and have it be a little bit more reflective. I'm also doing the TBM authenticity challenge. I don't know how many of you guys know what TBM is, but I'm going to be talking about TBM here and there all the time because I use their pathway membership like religiously. But their authenticity challenge was a 2-parter. It was 3 weeks in November, and then they gave you like the month of December has like an integration month. And you're able to do like your own DIs and your own journaling and whatnot. And then they kick it back in motion as of this week in January. This past week has been such a big focus on like what your dream life would be and like the essence of that and like what a day in your dream life would be like. And it just feels very nice to enter 2025 just focusing on those things. I feel like the possibilities just feel endless at the beginning of a year, and it's refreshing. So here we are. And with that being said, I'm going to use this episode to lean into that newness of the year and share with you guys a very important story to me that is actually an ongoing story. It's still happening right now in my life, but it is the story of how I came into my career shift in 2024 as a 36-year-old accountant who is now a self-branded digital content creator and podcast host. How the hell did I end up here? I'm going to break it down for you guys. This is a journey that has not been linear. It has been challenging, and I want to be real and just take advantage of this platform to be able to share the journey with you live and not have this be some retrospective story that I tell one day when I'm sitting, and mark my words, because I will be in a few years, when I'm sitting on a panel with a bunch of other very successful women who are all self-branded as well, telling my story of how I started and how I came here and how did you change your career in the middle of your life in your mid-30s and all of that. I don't want it to be something that I just talk about then. Like, I'm in the trenches now. I'm going through it now. I think the details of what I'm feeling and the challenges I'm facing and the upsides to things that I'm experiencing are just much more valuable now than they will be later. Later, I won't be as attached to the details of just getting through things and going through the motions. And I want you guys to capitalize on anything I can possibly share. If you're sitting in the same boat at the beginning of 2025 or at any point this year where you're scratching your head and thinking about, like, do I want to do my job for the rest of my life? Like, is there something else I'd like to tap into? Is something else calling me? Why do I keep having this thought about wanting to write a book or whatever it is? It doesn't have to be creative. It could be you going from creative to something like accounting or whatever it is, inside of you, if there is something speaking to you, if there is a little nudge that keeps coming up or a synchronicity with a particular topic or people, you can identify that. And I hope that this episode will allow you to get some help on elaborating and digging a little deeper to know what the true answer is, because I feel like that was my biggest challenge initially was to really take that leap and understand why I was taking it. When you're in your mid 30s, the last thing you want to be doing is rocking the financial boat and letting go of the career you've worked so hard for and built such a great resume and background in, and to just start all over again and be new at something again, and to really just humble yourself but also excite yourself into something new. And I don't know, I feel like when we're younger, when we're 18 and we're getting so pressured to decide what it is like that you want to do, not all of us actually ends up in the boats of what our true essence really wants to do in this lifetime, you know? And I feel like that's kind of how it happened for me a little bit. And I want to, extrapolate on that and talk about it. So I'm going to try to break this episode down into different parts. It's because, like I said, this journey is not linear. So it's going to be a little mishmash, mix up here and there. But I know I'm going to drive some really good points home, and I really hope that you guys find them valuable. And it's just a fun story along the way, too, because who in their right mind at 36 is just like, I'm just going to change my entire thought process on how I want to, make income and how I want to spend my time and label myself. And it takes someone a little kooky up here. So I'm a little cray cray, but it's all good. I hope I find other fellow cray crays. So I feel like it's important to initially even just understand, why are you in your current career, right? Like, what brought you here? What brought you to this position, to this company, to this job? For me, money and financial security was my biggest motivator when I was choosing my career in college and what I wanted to study, what I wanted to be a part of. Because I came from a low income household, I did not have like the luxuries in life. I wanted to make sure that when I grew up that I would have all the financial security. I wanted to live a comfortable life. I wanted to give my kids the things I couldn't have. Not a lot of guidance around college or like hand holding or coddling me going into college. So I really felt a little bit alone with how I was able to understand what I needed to do to navigate college. I went into school as a psych major. I love psychology. I love any kind of psychology class. And I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. But my first semester in college, I got on academic probation. I was partying a little too hard. And when I was in academic probation, that's when I made my decision that I wanted to change from psych to business. And I was like, okay, I'll just get like a general business degree. And then after, I'm going to go to Aveda and study aesthetics and get like a certification in cosmetology, estheticians. And like one day I'm going to open up my own spa. And that was kind of like the way I was going about it. I'm like, okay, this will make me money, but it'll be hard, but I'll have like a little bit of passion in it because I love aesthetic stuff and da 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 da. And my second business class was actually an accounting course. And I had like the most inspirational teacher. Accounting just kind of clicked with me. Like, I just was naturally great with numbers. And the more I spoke to her that semester and the more I got into the mind frame of setting up what would a stable future look like, and talking to mentors and talking to the business department and the other professors, it just felt like a no-brainer. Like, accounting, you're going to always have a job, you're going to always have a well-paying job, you're going to be able to have the life that you truly wanted, that you were seeking without any high risks. So when I went to my mom about it, she was like, you either pick your passion or you pick money. So for me, that kind of stuck with me. And I knew what she meant by that. Like, she was saying, if you can't find something you're passionate about right now, then go for something for money. Not that one can't exist without the other, but at the time, I think the way I was decision making and the way my mind was not fully evolved yet, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the money because that will make me happy and that will make me passionate. And I'm passionate about money and I love making money. So that's where accounting started for me. I worked at a small firm when I graduated, and then I went on to New York and worked at an international multi-investment firm for 7, 8 years. I don't even remember. And that's where I was working before we moved to Zurich. I learned so much from being there, and they really shaped me into the accountant that I became. So when we came to Zurich, I had quit that job because I started realizing, okay, I have climbed the ladder here. I've kind of hit this ceiling. I want to work in an industry that makes me a little bit more giddy. Investment firms, like, ugh, to me, it's just, I needed something that called to me. The same way I was thinking about Aveda back in the day. I'm like, okay, so maybe I can work for like some type of cosmetic company, some kind of beauty company, maybe even a luxury brand. Like, what's up with the LVMHs of the world and the Estee Lauders? And I started networking with people who worked at these places. And when my husband got the call for us to come to Zurich, I was like, okay, perfect. I'm going to quit my current company. And when we get back from Zurich, I am going to reconnect with the people that I've been networking with at these other, beauty and luxury brands, and that's where I'm going to go with my accounting career. And clearly we never went back after those 9 months, but now coming into this next chapter is like me finding my creative pulse. How did I find my creative pulse? Well, when we moved here, and if you heard last week's episode with Chelsea, her and I speak a little bit about this because, first of all, it's something that we bonded over. For those of you who don't know, if you come to Switzerland and you are the spouse of the person who had the job transfer, you are unable to work here for a year. So you can't work here for a year. You're on a family reunification visa, and it just kind of forces you to sit there and have these very interesting and scary thoughts and questions run through your mind. Who am I? What do I like to do? Like, what do I even want to do with my time? Like, what's my purpose? How do I navigate not having like the labels and structure and career and all of that? And these are deep identifying questions that honestly I had not genuinely asked myself in a way outside of not having a career. I mean, I came over here, I was 31, so it was not the funnest to be asking myself that at that age when I already had felt so confident and built such an identity around being an accountant, especially in New York and especially at that company. So what I did know is that I needed structure. I needed an outlet. I needed a day by day thing to do that I could pour myself into the way I would at work. And that's kind of how I created my blog in 2019. I was like, well, shit, we're traveling every single weekend. Let me write about this traveling. It can kind of be my own little diary about our travels this summer. Like, summer 2019 is going to be a phenomenal summer and a fall and winter because we had 9 months in Zurich. So I was like, okay, I'll just blog for the 9 months that we're here. And honestly, it was something that I had so much fun doing, like actually building the website and actually, writing and being able to be creative with like my photos and pictures and presets and just storytelling all of my travels while we were in Europe. And I really felt like a high from it. It was so fun to talk about my travel stuff. I was also talking about lifestyle things, beauty, skincare, recipes. It wasn't just travel because I don't like to be boxed, but I got to like really connect with people on the internet, on social media about the topics that I was writing about. I had so many people reach out about recommendations for traveling, so many people thanking me for all the great recommendations. It was just a really great way to connect, right? A really great way to share story, to connect, but I still didn't feel like it felt silly to me. It didn't feel like a job. It felt like a project, a hobby, a side thing. It wasn't something I had a lot of confidence in. It just felt like, oh, this is me outside of work and like I can make this be my thing for right now. But like I'm always an accountant, like always going back to like, oh, well, you're just a blog. Like, there's just like a stigma. There was a stigma in my head and I was very self-judging. So that was my first time having a pulse on my creativity. The second time is also with my friend Chelsea. A few years later, we ran a YouTube channel together called Home Tour Switzerland, where we did tours of homes in Zurich or outside of Zurich as well. And it was just so much fun. It was kind of like Cribs, but Swiss edition, and it was a blast. We worked on it for a year and a half. It actually did really well on YouTube, and it's still up. I'm gonna link it for you guys. But I was able to do, content creation, videography, like, B-roll, script writing, voiceovers, and I just had fun with it. And it all just felt like hobby, fun time that I was spending on these projects. Nothing that I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to make this like career out of it. It was just things that came kind of natural to me and that I was having fun with. We decided to stay. I had the 1 year off and then the pandemic hit. So we're pushing into 2021. I found accounting work, remote work for a company that was based in New Jersey that honestly, I loved the part-time of it. I loved the flexibility of it, but it was a big hit to the ego because the job itself, I was definitely overqualified for. It was not the same type of accounting that I had been doing in New York, like the very competitive and, challenging and high paying and, it had a completely different feeling to it. But I was like, you know what? This is great for now. Like until I find something in Zurich, this is perfect because I still want to travel. I want my flexibility. The work that I'm actually doing to me is like mindless and I can do it very easily. So this placeholder job turned into a 3-year placeholder. And, of course, like over the 3 years, I demanded raises. My responsibilities obviously grew and I had somebody reporting to me. Like the role evolved and I still enjoyed the flexibility and the control I had over it. And I also had personal things going on. Like my dad was sick and then shortly after I was pregnant. So I needed the flexibility. I leaned on that, but I wasn't happy with the industry. Like I didn't like the industry I was working in. I didn't really love the higher up management, like the system, the culture. It didn't align with me. So as my responsibilities evolved and since it was Eastern Standard Time hours, it just got harder and harder, especially with a kid. Like I was working EST in Switzerland. It fucking sucked. I hated it. I was like, I don't want to be up until 11, 12 o'clock at night. Then I have to be up at 6 for the baby. I just started turning into a little bit of a monster. I energetically was not well. I have a very big work ethic. And if I'm not showing up the way I need and want to show up for work, I don't feel fulfilled. And then I also didn't feel like I was showing up for my family or my home life or my personal life in that way. So I decided in January 2024 that it was time for me to quit this job. Gave myself a buffer time to be able to save up some cash. I wanted to look for an accounting job in Switzerland that was either remote or hybrid for 60% of the time. So it's very popular here to work in corporate, or very well known that you don't have to work 100%. You can work 60 or 80% or 20% or whatever. So I was like, all right, I'll just find something for 60 or 80% because, we have the babe in daycare and everything. My last day was agreed to be, I think it was like May 15th. It was like middle of May. I quit at some point in April. I gave them 1 month's notice because I had somebody reporting to me. I wanted to make sure the team really was okay without me, and I wanted my departure to be seamless and just to give them time. And I had some moments, like even within that, when my boss would be like, well, can you stay as a consultant? And can you, it's almost like these tests coming up, like, well, can we use you here and there? And it's like, I had to create that like boundary and like line, like, no, like this is me leaving. I gotta go. And it was hard because I want to still make the money. I love making money. I really do. I'm still passionate about that. That 18, 19-year-old person, that still lives in me. I love money. Having to cut that off, I will say, was a little bit of a challenge. But there was a pivot sometime between the point of me deciding I wanted to quit and my last day on the job. I went from like endlessly searching for this accounting job in Zurich to having thoughts of like, well, what if I do something creative? What if I do something different? If I'm just going to work 60% of the week, can it be like an entry level content creator position? Like, can I do video B-roll for like a brand? Like, can I look for a job like that instead of just an accounting 60% job. And maybe I'd get paid a lot less, but what if this new skill set that I'm exercising and learning and getting to know will bring me a lot more money in the nearer future? I can apply it to my own projects and my own things. And I just had all of these thoughts coming in like, well, what if you try this on? Or maybe you can be an intern and be a 36-year-old intern. And I started having these thoughts and like not feeling so ashamed or scared of them. Like I feel like they were humbling thoughts, like to be entry level again and being like, you know what, fuck it, I would put myself out there. But then I'd have other days where I'm like, that's ridiculous. Back on LinkedIn looking for accounting, like just there's just this back and forth. Like one day you wake up like, yeah, and the other day you wake up, you're like, no, 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 let me do what I know and what's safe. And that doesn't make any sense for me to change. And then there was a point where I worked for this company, I worked for this nonprofit organization called Zarity, and I went to a charity event and I met this girl who was like the studio producer or something. I forget her title. Forgive me if you're listening to this, at the brand On in Switzerland, like the shoe brand. And I was like, huh, like maybe I was like meant to meet her. And like we were birthday twins and like, you know how I get about like little synchronicities and shit like that. So I was like, oh my God, maybe I was supposed to meet her for a reason. But like her story was also similar. She hadn't been in studio producing. Her career started in hospitality. So it's like hearing someone else's career change story. I was like, huh, like maybe I needed that expander in my life to hear that story. And I think she was my age or maybe a tiny bit older, but just to hear that a huge brand like that gave her the chance to be, you know, what she is now. And I was like, okay, maybe this can work. Maybe I can do something like this. So my next step was to find what's on my resume now, like the skill sets that I have, what is translatable to this new industry? Like, how can I list myself, market myself in this way to be believable for someone else to hire me for a marketing slash content creation slash video? I didn't know what I was looking for yet. I was just kind of trying to, you know, loop things in. And that's when it hit me to actually put my blog and the home tour Switzerland projects on my resume itself so I could actually like bullet out the things I was doing, like these fun videos I was taking and these voiceovers and the pictures I was taking for my blog and the writing and the web designing and, you know, photo editing, all of that. Now all of that had become different bullets on my resume. And I was like, wow, like, well, when you list it like that, it kind of, you know, I've done a couple things in the creative world that can translate to show somebody that I have the potential to be a successful creative, right? So that gave me a little boost of confidence. But looking for a part-time job in an industry that I was already so good at versus one that I was just stepping into, it felt along this entire way of me being like, "Ooh, okay, a little confidence." Like I would take 2 steps back in telling myself like, "No, this is stupid. What are you doing?" Like I felt like every time I took 3 steps forward, I was taking 2 steps back. This entire way of my thought process. You know, I think that comes really natural. A lot of self-doubt, a lot of limiting self-beliefs come up. And that brings me to my next biggest point about this transition was that I needed to digest like the realities around my decision. Like, what is it that I want? What's the essence of this creative world or creative job that I want that's like enticing me so much? Like between the skill set, I just want to like understand with it. I want to sit with it. That same time frame, I came across TBM for the first time, the to be magnetic that I was talking about. It was the first time I had come across it. I saw some reel about taking a career, what was it called? Jumping off the career cliff. I was like, that's speaking to me. Like the algorithm knows what's going on up in this head. And I saw a clip of it and I saw that it was actually a clip of a podcast episode. So I went and listened to the full podcast episode. The host, Jessica, had talked about her experience of jumping off the career cliff. And she had parsed out these awesome questions that were so helpful for me to sit with that I'm going to share with you guys. I literally have my old journal here and I'm going to list them out just because I thought they were genius questions to reflect on, especially going in general, but especially going through a transition like this, or if you're having thoughts about wanting to leave your career. These were, if you can write them down or type them down, so helpful. And I really like went into journaling about it and really got reflective and really sat with What is it that I want from a new career and a new job and a new position? So number one, I think they're not all questions, they're lists. So number one, list of things you are naturally good at, things that come with very little effort to you specifically, just in general. Doesn't have to be about work, in general in life. It could be that you're good at, you know, building things at home, or you're really good at organizing, or you're really good at taking a good photo, styling or editing your own closet, or anything, doing your own makeup, doing your hair, whatever it is, I had put like photography, lighting, decorating, interior design, creating a calm aesthetic. I put retaining astrological information, analyzing personalities, understanding people, dancing, following a beat. Like I was just like going off on my own personal list of just a ton of things, sharing travel stories, self-pampering, self-care. I mean, stuff like that. This stuff is all different to each other. None of it really, it's just, sharing my experiences, hair, makeup, etc. Okay. Number 2. Things family, friends, and peers have pointed out about you. These are compliments that people give to you, or they point out to be like, oh, wow, you're really good at that. Or, oh, I don't know anyone else who's done that before. Or, oh, wow, like, when someone comes into your house, I love this about your home. Or anything that they've pointed out about you, period, right? So you make a list of that. I had put I'm giving examples to be vulnerable here, but I put my energy, my old boss when I quit, don't lose that positive, hungry energy, stay upbeat, that I steer the ship, my interior design, my skincare, a bunch of stuff I listed. So a lot of random stuff, things I would think about, like my old bosses would say, my friends would say, my parents have said. Number 3, if you could work without money, like if money was not a thing, what would you be doing? What do you enjoy doing? So this is like, money does not exist. What are you doing, period, with your time? Just sit with that, list it out, think about it, get detailed, just elaborate. I had like literally like a paragraph and then like charts and arrows of things like, oh, and I would do this and then that. The 4th, who your current expanders are. So in the TBM community, when they talk about expanders are people who embody or have or do something that you are inspired by and want to do. It could be in your friend group, it could be in your family, it could be a celebrity, it could be somebody you've never even spoken to before. And these expanders, they don't need to like fully encompass everything it is that you want. You could like one influencer or person on the internet that you're like, I love the way that they publicly speak. Like that would be an expander. Like seeing something you genuinely feel this like pull for, or this, I don't want to say like envy, but like a little bit like kind of, ooh, I want that kind of thing, or ooh, I would love to have that type of talent, or this person talks about spirituality, or this person has a big knowledge base on something I love doing. So like that's an expander. So list out your expanders, why they're your expanders, what it is you like about them. And I feel like the next exercise allows you to, number 5, string together the commonalities with the expanders. So what is like the common themes of all the expanders you listed? What are some of the overlapping or overarching themes that exist within these expanders, and list those out? And then from there, the last one is called the bridge job, which I'm going to butcher. When TBM was talking about jumping off the career cliff, they spoke about how to identify what it is that you want through those lists and questions that I had just expressed, and then to write like a little mini manifestation of a bridge job, the job that would get you from point A to point B. So it's kind of like A.5. What would this job look like? Get into detail. For me, for example, when I was looking for a job, my non-negotiables were a 60 to 80% work week, hybrid model, benefits. Industry would have to be creative, wellness, beauty, health, design, interior design, minimum monthly salary, commute time 30 minutes from Zurich or less. I wanted to learn more new skill sets, new software in the industry. I want it to be an intuitive yes, and that it does not drain me. So stuff like that, where you can, if this is a completely new industry or completely new thing, you can kind of start by trying to idealize and call in a job or a place that allows you to expand a little bit and to learn before the big thing comes, right? So you can always jump into the big thing, but I felt like that was a nice exercise to think about, that it doesn't need to be all at once. It can be piece by piece. But I thought those questions were great. And outside of this, I also dove into my human design energy type, which this is a lot of woo-woo stuff, but guys, I swear some of this stuff really does help you understand or help you answer the questions you may be having when you're at a pivotal life moment like this, especially with your career, or especially with what do you want to do next. I had already been into human design, but I actually picked up the book again to just kind of like really understand, like, okay, because essentially human design is essentially like a blueprint for your purpose or your essence, like what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. It's like a manual for your energy type, for you to be able to navigate life based on your energy type and to know how to respond to these, like what I'll call pings or downloads or thoughts or inspiration, these things that come to you, and just how to navigate them and maneuver with them. I felt like that was really helpful, was sitting with myself with the TBM stuff, with the human design stuff, and just really trying to understand what it is that I wanted out of this new career, out of this new job. Guys, like I went in, I wanted answers. I wanted to know, like, what the fuck is my purpose? Like, why am I even considering changing everything right now? Like, is it a crazy time to do it? Like, I wanted to feel comfortable. I felt uncomfortable with all of these like new ideas and thoughts, and I needed some type of comfort. So I just started peeling myself back like a fucking onion. I was like, okay, we're going to figure you out. And now we're like, fast forward, it's May and job is about to be done in 2 weeks. I have no job lined up. All I've done is peel back all these things, sitting on my couch every night, just like journaling, figuring out, reflecting, deep imaginings, et cetera, et cetera. And what does a typical Sagittarius do when she's about to have no job, no work, still figuring herself out? She takes a trip to clear her head. She has this genius idea that she needs to get the fuck away from her environment to clear her head even more. And guys, I'm laughing, but it's the best thing I could have done for myself. I am so happy that I did this. It was really last minute. I was like, oh, I need to go like on a retreat or something. And then, it's like, I want to have this like perfect, end my job on Friday, leave for somewhere Monday. My husband had okayed like the 4 or 5 days that I could leave for taking care of the baby and everything. So I was like, okay, I don't have enough time to sign up for a retreat. I just need to build one myself. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go to Ibiza. Ibiza is one of those like most energetically aligned places in the world. I'm going to go sit with myself and be alone and just do a bunch of random self-discovery exercises and things, and really just clear the noise, really hear myself, really see like if I could come back with some answers. I wanted more time alone, more direction. And I felt like I couldn't go to anyone for direction but myself. Like I felt like this was the time to sit with me. At this very particular point, there was no answers to be given to me from other people. And the influx of just downloads, messages, inspiration, thoughts, alignment. It's not like I came back and was like, oh my God, I know exactly what I'm going to do. No, but it gave me a very comfortable feeling around the decisions I was making. And knowing that by putting my foot in front of the other and following these callings, whether it's me needing more time alone or it's me practicing some type of skill set on the side, I was following the right voice, if that makes sense. And I will say, clearing and getting out of your environment really, really helps that. That summer, I did a ton of peeling back, limiting self-belief exercises. I wanted to rid myself of any type of self-doubt that I had around being in this new industry. I spent a ton of time on shadow work, inner child work, and rewiring narratives, any limiting narratives I had around my confidence and ability to see this industry through and being able to find a job in it. Like one of my limiting self-beliefs was for my former career, like the only way I knew how to make money was the traditional way, like salary, benefits, bonus, all that. To me, the creative world, like if you're working for yourself, like how do you make money? Like all these different income portals and like really entrepreneuring it up, and all of that seemed very scary and far-fetched to me. So I like continued to look for a job at a company because I still didn't feel comfortable with finding these income portals and whatnot. So anyway, that's just one small example. Another one is just, a limiting self-belief is feeling seen. Like I don't want to be seen. And now I'm in a place where I'm being seen. I was just chipping away at it, and I'm still chipping away at it. I still do so much work in therapy and TBM, and I am chipping away at myself to be able to get to my most aligned self always, because I'm constantly evolving and changing, and there's always something to work on within myself. So that is still an ongoing effort. I will never stop doing that, but it has helped tremendously in 2024, bringing myself into 2025, having invested all of that time into not just helping me, but it's helped all the other parts of my life as well. So while I was doing this work and I was looking for work, I started to work on some of my own projects, because I'm like, okay, well, I have this time. I want to be able to build on skill sets. I want to practice stuff like videoing. I want to practice some content creation. So that's how this podcast was born. One of my, if money didn't exist answers on that questionnaire that I just read off to you guys was that I would have a podcast. I'm passionate about podcasts. I love podcasts. I love connecting and sharing, and that is how I started focusing on late checkout, and also focusing on my own brand and creating a self brand around travel and wellness. I knew both of those things would allow me to exercise a ton of different new abilities and fine tune skill sets and work in new software and be able to just navigate the waters myself and then be able to apply them at a job, right? And a month later, I found myself pregnant with baby number 2. And instead of throwing in the towel and being like, okay, well, I guess I just have to pick this up when baby number 2, after he's born and whatnot, it made me feel very differently actually about my own projects. It made me feel like I needed to like get shit into like fifth gear, press on the gas. I have 8 months. Like, what can we get done in 8 months? Let's do it. I was so scared to invest in myself, meaning like invest in money that I didn't really have. I know that I'm saying all of this with the privilege of being in a marriage and having my husband be the breadwinner at the moment. And I know that that is a right that I'm just genuinely like leaning on and exercising. Not everyone has this luxury of that sort, but I am someone who is very independent when it comes to finances. Like I feel bad when I'm not making money. I feel bad when I'm not pulling rank. When I've worked since I was 16. Like I've always had a job. I've always made money, even through college. Like it's weird. And yeah, to just keep spending the money, it's like, oh, okay, but I want money coming in, like, But I did. I hired a web designer, and I'm so thankful for Emily. She is amazing. She designed my website, and she also did my branding kit. And I am so happy that I invested the money in it, because I feel like not only did it take so much time off my plate, but it also allowed me to have a professional really mold my website to a point where I know that it looks like I take myself seriously, I take my brand seriously. And since I was letting go of searching for a job at a company, because I'm pregnant, the reality is I'm most likely not going to get hired being pregnant right now. So after a month or two, even into my pregnancy, I was like, well, maybe like, second trimester, I can get a couple months in, and then blah, blah, blah. After I wasn't getting a couple bites after the month, I was like, you know what? I just need to put all my focus into my projects for now. And this is what it's going to look like when you start a business. It's going to be net losses for the first year or two. So I just got to deal with that and the realities of that. And let's just plug forward and do it. I invested in software. I invested in equipment. So it's been a lot, but it's also been really expansive. I've learned so much. Still going through it, guys. Like I said, I'm still on this journey. This is where I'm at. I feel like this was altogether like a mid-level detailed version of my story because there's always just so much. I really have to emphasize that each day is a different day in terms of mindset and thoughts. Like I wake up very doubtful sometimes. I wake up very inspired sometimes. I'll wake up at 4 a.m. with like all these inspirational thoughts and ideas and creative ideas, and I'm writing them all down myself. And each day really comes with new territory. Each thing you do, you're learning something new. Like with anything, it could be about the equipment, it could be about the website, it could be about really thinking about my brand. Like, what is my mission? What is my angle? What am I here to like purposefully bring value to your life for? Like, I want this time, even though it's such an up and down emotional crazy time, to at least provide answers along the way. And I feel like it so has. It's spending time with myself and my brand has brought me a ton of confidence in how I feel about the meaning behind what I want to make a big success, you know? And it doesn't feel silly and like a hobby anymore. It feels purposeful and intentional. And I feel like with each thing that I do, it brings me to the next thing. Like I'm not supposed to know exactly what the end result and big result looks like. I'm just supposed to be in my journey, enjoying the journey, making sure that I'm following my idea paths and educating myself on income portals and new ways that I can set myself up for business. I've reached out to a ton of friends who are either entrepreneurs or creatives and just have asked them questions. And, you know, they've all been there and they all get it and they understand it. And the imposter syndrome and the crazy and the ups and downs. And it's just nice to sit and talk with people who also get that. I'm really leaning into that network because I don't know if I'd be able to feel completely sane without hearing a lot of their story or their, the way that they felt about their work and their paths as well. And yes, it's been a wild ride, but this baby's coming and I also want to be present for the baby too. I really just want to take each day by each day and trust that everything that is meant to be happening is happening the way it's supposed to happen, the way it's unfolding. There are so many days where I'm like, I should be doing so much more and I can do so much more and I need to just hire interns and get things done and da 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 da. And I'm like, slow down, because you also have other parts of your life to tend to. And, there's inspiration and there's reality and then there's madness. So anyone who is thinking about changing their career, please take that sentiment with you that anywhere you feel like you should be, that's not where you're supposed to be at this very second. You're supposed to be exactly where you are. You are meant to be learning and hearing the things that you're learning and hearing in this moment to bring you to the next step. Because wherever it is you think you're meant to be, you clearly have more to learn or more things to bring with you or a different perspective to get to that place. And it'll be in a way better status and way than you could have imagined just sitting here thinking about wanting to be there. So that is my story, guys. It is long-winded. This is a much longer episode than I expected it to be. I'm not surprised because I can talk about this for hours. I would love to hear if you guys are also going through some type of pivotal career changes or any big transitions. 2025 is a big year. I feel like there's going to be a lot of us, especially in my age range, who will be having questions like this around what they want to be doing and how they really want to be utilizing their skill sets and what value they bring to the table and what their purpose is. So I'm someone you can reach out to because I get it. It's so crazy. But anyway, I'm capping it here. Next week, I'm going to expand on my Ibiza retreat, how I built it, what I did. It was a really fun trip. I want to elaborate on it a little bit more. And yeah, I'll see you next week for that. Bye, guys. Ciao, ciao.